Good afternoon. May we request everyone to rise for the singing of the Philippine National Anthem, to be followed by our opening prayer. Dear God, thank you for this opportunity to meet together. Come give us the inspiration to be the best we can be. May we be a shining example of your goodness and truth within, wherever we are. Inspire our thoughts, discussions, and ideas, and continue to remind us that all that we do here today, all that we accomplish, is for the pursuit of truth, for the greater glory of you. We ask these things in your name. Amen. Good afternoon. We would like to welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us for today's orientation on the recognition of public and private child development centers offering early childhood programs for children ages 0 to 4. Before we formally start our program, we would like to greet our guests from the different cities and municipalities from the Mindanao region. Feel free to click on any reaction button to show how you're feeling today. So let's begin with Region 9, Zamboanga Peninsula. Buenas tardes. From Region 10, Northern Mindanao, maayong hapon. From Region 11, Davao, maayong hapon kaninyong tanan. From Region 12, Soc Sergeant, welcome po. From Region 13, Caraga Region, welcome din po. And lastly, from the Bangsamoro Autonomous Region in Muslim Mindanao, a warm welcome po sa lahat ng child development workers and teachers, ECCD practitioners, both from public and private, and the local officials from Health, Nutrition, and Social Welfare Division. Last but not the least, we also have participants who are parents and caregivers. We warmly welcome everyone. And before I forget, we would like to greet everyone a happy International Women's Month. For the whole month of March, we recognize and celebrate all women and women's rights, and we recognize the importance of raising awareness about the challenges women face around the globe. So to all the women out there, we salute you. Okay, before anything else, allow me to introduce myself. I will be your host, Jolly Yao, your Program Development Officer 2 from the Programs and Policy Unit of the ECCD Council. So to officially welcome us with his opening remarks, we have with us our OIC from the Office of the Vice Chairperson and Executive Director. Please welcome Sir Romel Isip. Good afternoon, Sir Romel.
Yeah, good afternoon, Jolly. Thank you. Good afternoon to all. As the officer in charge of the Office of the Vice Chairperson and Executive Director of the ECCD Council, it is my honor and pleasure to welcome you all to this online national orientation on the ECCD standard and guidelines for center-based program for 0 to 4 years old and the guidelines for registration, granting of permit and recognition to Child Development Center and Learning Center. Given our mandate in RA 10410, or also known as Earlier Act of 2013, it is our responsibility to promote the rights of children to survival, development, and special protection with full recognition of nature of childhood, and as well as the need to provide developmentally appropriate experiences as mentioned in Section 2 of the Declaration of Policy. We all recognize and agree that the child is one of the most important assets of our nation. Every effort should be exerted to promote this welfare and enhance the opportunities for a useful and happy life. And we, as a service provider, stakeholder, and ECCD advocates, have our own roles to play in preparing them for the future. Moreover, our country has been affected badly by the pandemic, climate change, armed conflict, and others, which resulted to a lot of crises, one of which is the educational crisis. This educational crisis will be aggravated in the long run if we will not address a more impending problem, which is the developmental loss in the children, particularly those belonging to 0 to 4 years old. This is also due to prolonged lockdown and inaccessibility to quality ECCD program and services. In recognition of this critical age and stage of development, the development of our young children, it is our duty to provide quality ECCD program and services which both right issue and foundation of development. Quality ECCD shall promote the delivery of integrated program and services on health, nutrition, early education, and social services. Having said this, putting this mandate into action requires an intergovernmental and multi-sectoral collaboration effort from all the ECCD stakeholder and service provider, both for public and private. If I may reiterate and emphasize collaboration from all stakeholders, considering that ECCD is multi-sectoral in nature and a shared responsibility of all, we are and we will continuously appealing for your dedication, commitment, and hard work in ensuring that these integrated services will be available and provided for the young children ages 0 to 4 years old. In this light, we hope that this orientation on the ECCD quality standard and guidelines will contribute to the achievement of our common goal, that is, to provide for the basic holistic needs of young children, promote their optimum growth and development, and eventually secure the hope of the nation. Maraming salamat po at magandang umaga sa inyong lahat. Magandang hapon po sa inyong lahat. Back to you, Jolly. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your warm welcoming message, Sir Romel. Okay, so on that note, I believe that everyone's ready for today's orientation. Just a little reminder before we start. If you have any questions during the presentation, kindly type them in the chat box in your Zoom or on our Facebook page comment section. There will be time for questions after the presentation of our two speakers for today. So without further ado, let us welcome our first presenter, Sir Carl Sabalza, our Planning Officer 3 from the Programs and Policy Unit of the ECCD Council. He will explain about the standards and guidelines for center-based early childhood programs, followed by the guidelines on the recognition of both public and private child development centers offering early childhood programs for children 0 to 4 years.
Good day everyone! Since madami po tayong mga concerns regarding the recognition and accreditation of our child development centers and learning centers, the ECCD Council initiated a national orientation on the standards and guidelines in ECCD. So for this day, the outline of our discussion will focus on the quality standards in ECCD, wherein we will talk about the rationale and the legal basis. We will also discuss for our second session accreditation of our child development centers and learning centers, the ECCD Council initiated a national orientation on the standards and guidelines in ECCD. So for this day, the outline of our discussion will focus on the quality standards in ECCD, wherein we will talk about the rationale and the legal basis. We will also discuss for our second session the standards and guidelines for center-based ECCD programs for 0 to 4 years old, and its guideline for registration, granting of permit to operate, and also the recognition. Then we will discuss the goal, the development process, the different areas, the guidelines, and also the implementation scheme. But before that, let's talk about why quality standards. Why is it important? Sabi po dito, providing quality in our standards in ECCD is both a right issue of young children and foundation of their development. So there are two things. First is the right issue. Karapatan po ng mga bata na magkaroon sila ng maganda, hindi lang ng basta-basta pag-aaral, but yung maganda, yung may kalidad. But isa din po sa gusto nating isulong dito, the reason why we had this document is that we want to provide foundation for their future. If we want to prepare them na maging competitive sila, maging productive sila in the future, maganda na nag-i-invest na tayo ng maaga, lalo na dun sa kanilang foundational stage and age. Okay? And also, sabi dito, quality early education helps prepare young children for success in school and later in life. So, what quality looks like? So in NAEYC, this is the National Association of Educators for Young Children. This is based in New York. So association po siya ng mga educators. For them, they describe ECCD program with high quality as a safe and nurturing environment. Very simple lang din, sabi nila, safe dapat and nurturing environment. When we talk of safety, hindi lang po ito nakafocus on the physical environment, but also considering yung affective environment wherein yung bata, kaya nilang maging totoong bata na pwede silang maglaro, pwede silang mag-explore, and also they can express their emotions freely. If they want to cry, if they want to get angry, so dapat yung environment nila safe sila sa ganun. At the same time, syempre nurturing. Pinaprocess natin sa kanila, tinutulungan natin yung mga bata para i-process yung kanilang emotions, para maintindihan nila kung anong nararamdaman nila. So, sabi, if we have this kind of environment, it will help promote yung kanilang physical, social, emotional, and cognitive development. Sabi, if we have this program, it will greatly affect yung kanilang development. Depende kung paano hinahandle ito ng mga teachers, not just teachers also, but the service providers, even other stakeholders na involved in the development ng mga bata. So, before we continue with this discussion, I'd just like to share with you this quotation. This is by Gabriela Mistral. Sabi niya dito, "We are guilty of many things, many faults, but our worst crime is abandoning the children, neglecting the fountain of life. Many things we need can wait. The child cannot. Right now, the time his bones are being formed, his blood are being made, and his senses are being developed. To him we cannot answer tomorrow. His name is today." We need to act immediately. Kasi habang tumatagal yung panahon, habang nagkakaedad yung mga bata, medyo nababawasan na yung opportunity na maibigay natin sa kanila at matulungan natin sila na mag-develop dun sa optimum level ng development. Okay? And now, tingnan natin, ano ba yung legal basis why we have this document? Basically, it's from our mandating RA 10410. So the Early Years Act of 2013. It says here, in Section 3, our objective, the national ECCD system shall pursue the following objective. First, to upgrade and update capabilities of service providers. So it's our mandate na kung ano yung existing natin na standards na sinusunod natin for early development, kailangan natin siyang i-upgrade and kailangan natin i-update. The reason why we want to upgrade itong mga programs na to, mainly because nag-i-evolve din yung bata. Yung generation ngayon, hindi na natin sila pwede i-compare doon sa dati. Hindi na natin sila pwede sabihin na ganito kami noon. Nung mga bata kami, titigan mo lang. Okay na, di ba? Matatakot na, susunod na sa'yo. Ngayon, kahit anong gawin mong titig sa bata, naku, walang reaction. Minsan ikaw pa tititigan nila o kaya pagtatawanan ka pa nila. So, gusto natin na yung standards natin nakasunod din ano ba yung appropriate for children. That's why ina-upgrade natin siya. And also ina-update din natin siya. Ano ba na yung mga current na appropriate talaga for children. So that's why even our standards isinunod din po natin nun. And also, we want to improve the quality of our public and private. Isa din po to sa kaya tayo nag-update ng ating standards kasi before nakafocus lang tayo sa public and 3 to 4 years old lang yung kino-cover natin. But right now, our responsibility for 0 to 4 covers the public and the private ECCD programs. Okay, so that is basically our mandate. So because of that, we developed these two documents. First is the Standards and Guidelines for Center-Based Program, and the other one is the Guideline on Registration and Granting of Permit and Recognition to our centers. So pag-usapan muna natin, ano ba yung goal ng development nito? Very simple lang yung goal. It's to promote quality early childhood experience. So that's the goal of these two documents. So ano yung objective natin for having these two documents? First, if meron tayong i-develop or magpuput up pa lang tayo ng center or we're planning to build another child development center, maganda siya na guide kasi dito makikita nyo na from its different areas ano yung mga checklists na kailangan ko i-consider, ano yung mga dapat kong i-prepare, ano ba dapat yung physical structure, paano ko i-manage yung center, ano yung ibibigay ko na program for children, ano pa yung other considerations ko. So everything makikita na po natin dito. And since meron tayong indicators for that, ito na rin yung pwede natin gamitin na monitoring tool, self-monitoring tool. Kasi habang meron ka ng ongoing program, makikita mo na dito na tama ba yung ginagawa ko in terms of securing yung outdoor facility ko? Tama ba yung mga equipment na meron ako? Yung loob ng center ko, yung arrangement ng mga gamit ko, tama ba yung pagkaka-arrange niya? So, kahit may existing ka ng program, itong document na natin to, you can use this para mag-guide sa'yo, para magsabi sa'yo, ano yung kailangan kong i-improve. Since ito na rin yung standards and guidelines natin and we have specific indicators, ito rin yung ginamit nating reference for the assessment. So, pag nag-accredit tayo, like the term that we're using before, and now it's recognition, so while evaluating the centers, ito na rin yung tinitingnan natin isa-isa. So we have the same standards, we have same guideline, we have same indicator doon sa ating assessment tool. Yan. And now, for the development process of the standards, so we started with documentary analysis. During the documentary analysis, we gathered different standards and guidelines from different countries. So we have from Finland, from Singapore, Western countries. So ginather po lahat itong iba't ibang mga documents ito. Ano-ano nga ba yung mga standards in terms of addressing the needs of children, particularly yung very young children, yung 0 to 4 years old, yung iba 0 to 8, yung iba 0 to 6. So all these documents were gathered. Tinignan ano yung mga different na mga guidelines din para ma-ensure that we are developing or providing quality programs. And then, after the documentary analysis, we had a workshop kung saan we write ano yung mga standards that is appropriate for Filipino children. Same thing, nagkaroon din ng workshop to develop the guidelines. After the development, nagkaroon po ng consultative workshop. So during the consultative workshop, we invited all the members, the technical working, who will be the technical working group nung development nito from the different agencies na member po ng ECCD. So we invited from the Department of Education, from the Department of Health, the National Nutrition Council, the Union of Local Authorities of the Philippines. We also have from the Department of Social Welfare and Development, and syempre representative from the ECCD Council. Aside from those members, we invited also experts from academe, yung mga practitioners po ng ECCD. And again, we also involve yung mga local government unit representatives. So from the provincial to the city, municipal, child development workers and teachers, and then the MS and CSWDOs. So nagkaroon po ng mga consultative workshop. And then after nung consultative workshop, yung result po nun, ginamit to modify and edit the documents. And then we had the validation of these two documents. So kinonvene uli itong mga different agencies and personalities para magkaroon ng validation and to review again all the standards, the guidelines, and the indicators. And then after the review, we revised it again. And then after the revision, it was submitted to the different members of the governing board for final review and approval. So ito na po yung na-approve. In 2015 ng September, the ECCD Council, through a board resolution, approved this document. So ito yung sinasabi natin na una, the standards and guidelines for center-based early childhood program for 0 to 4 years old Filipino children. Ayan, I'll show yung other document, but first, tingnan muna natin, ano yung nandito sa document. Ito yung sinasabi natin na areas. Ito yung titingnan natin, ito yung sinasabi natin na mag-guide sa atin. So we have the area on health, nutrition, and safety. We have physical environment and safety. Then the interaction and relationship between staff, children, and among children and other adults. We also have staff qualification, development, and continuing education. And then curriculum, instruction, and assessment. The family involvement and community linkages. And lastly, leadership program management and support. So pag tinignan po natin, when we talk of health and nutrition, ay tinitingnan natin. The program promotes health, nutrition, and safety of infants, toddlers, and young children through the education of center staff and parents who are responsible for the implementation. Pag tinignan ninyo, hindi lang po siya nakafocus sa 3 to 4. Tinitingnan rin natin dito yung infant and toddlers. And also the involvement not just of the service providers in the centers, but also we include parents kasi sila talaga yung responsible of implementing itong mga health and nutrition practices. Hindi lang kasi dapat sa center but also sa bahay para talagang ma-ensure natin na magiging healthy and magiging well-nourished yung ating mga bata. Okay? Next is physical environment and safety. So the CDC has an outdoor play and classroom environment that are safe and accessible to young children, including those with special needs, with appropriate and sufficient facilities. Pag tinignan nyo po itong standards na to and all the indicators here, tinitingnan din natin kung meron tayong provision so that our center will be inclusive. Our center will be accessible to other children na may mga disability or other needs, may special needs. Okay? Next, we have the interaction and relationship between staff and children, among children and other adults. Dito titingnan natin is kamusta yung sinasabi natin na affective environment. Kamusta yung ipinakikita ng ating mga service providers, particularly our child development teachers, child development workers, the teacher aid, yung mga volunteers. Kamusta sila? Nanonourish ba nila yung bata? Yung values ba na gusto nating i-inculcate sa kanila na we-witness ba nila sa atin? So very important na tinitingnan din natin tong area na to kasi napakahalaga nung kung ano yung nakikita, di ba usually kung ano yung nakikita ng mga bata, yan yung minimimic nila, yan yung ginagaya nila. So importante na may tamang gabay yung ating mga service providers kung ano yung paano nila ikinocompose yung sarili nila, lalo na pag nandun sila sa mga centers nila. Yan. And then we also have the staff qualification, staff development, and continuing education. So dito tinitingnan na Kamusta yung qualification? Pag tingnan nyo, there is a qualification for child development teacher, may qualification for child development worker, meron din for teacher aid, for volunteers, and other staff and management part, meron din dyan. Tinitingnan natin ano ba yung qualification. Kasi nga, sabi natin, we want to provide quality program. So, dapat yung capacity, yung kakayanan, yung knowledge din ng ating mga service providers, may quality din. And hindi na siya natitigil doon. Part of this area, dapat may pinoprovide din tayo na continuous na professional development plan. So, tinitingnan dito, ano ba yung mga trainings, ano ba yung mga capacity building na kailangan makuha ng isang service provider in the sector. Next is our curriculum instruction and assessment. Ito, pag tinignan ninyo, there's no particular na curricula na sinasabi. Dito, tinitingnan lang na dapat appropriate siya for Filipino children, and also it's based on the early learning development standards na validated for Filipino children. So, yan lang yung tinitingnan natin dito. Dapat yung curriculum na meron kayo, whether you're a private or a public, appropriate siya dun sa bata. Depende sa kanyang age, depende sa kanyang development, depende dun sa stage kung nasaan ang bata ngayon. Yun yung tinitingnan dito sa indicator na to or sa standard na to. And next, we have the family involvement and community. Kasi we believe na yung bata, di ba, hindi lang naman siya nabubuhay bahay center, ganyan. And most of the time nga, nasa bahay. So that's why it's very important that we involve the family, particularly the parents. So, dapat yung center, we promote yung harmonious relationship and build strong collaboration, working relationship with stakeholders towards effective delivery of programs and services. So, dapat even the community, masasabi talaga natin that it's really a safe space and safe place for our children in terms of development. And lastly, we have the leadership program management and support. Dito kasi tinitingnan natin, unang-una, sino ba yung committee or the composition who will ensure that we will deliver quality program? Who will ensure na there will be a comprehensive plan in terms of addressing the needs, in terms of planning, and providing programs and services na kailangan ng isang bata. At the same time, tinitingnan din natin dito na dapat yung programa is sustainable. Okay? So those are our 7 areas. Pag tinignan ninyo in this areas, for each of the area, may tagi-tagi siyang standard. There's a written standard. And then, several guidelines and indicators, sub-indicators. Itong mga indicators na to, these are like specific checklist na pwede mong basahin, pwede mong tingnan, mga things that you need to consider and also you need to put in place pagka nag-put up ka ng center or pag nag-assess ka for improvement of your center. This is the second document. And now, for the second session, ito yung sinasabi ko po na document 2. So, we will focus on the guidelines on the registration and granting of permit and recognition to public and private CDCs and LCs. Yan. Same po ito na naipasa din noong September together with the standards and guidelines. So, in this document, makikita natin dito yung introduction, syempre, then the goal and the objectives of the guideline, the process of registration, then yung granting of permit, and then, ang maganda po dito, nandito na, nasa appendices na po, yung mga template na kailangan nyo po in terms of certificate, yung mga forms, information sheet, worksheet. So, you can find everything in this document. So, here's the process. Basically, ang process natin, registration. When we talk of registration, pareho po. We register the public or even yung mga old na child development centers natin, i-register natin to. At the same time, kailangan din mag-register ng mga private child development centers offering programs for 0 to 4 years old. Anong purpose ng registration natin? The purpose of registration is para ma-map natin ilan na nga ba ang centers in our community or in our locality. Kasi para na-address din natin, minsan kasi nagkakaroon tayo ng gap with the data. Nakakala natin, mababa lang yung nasa serbisyohan natin ng programa, particularly on the center-based programs for 0 to 4. Akala natin mababa yung number. Pero kasi, minsan hindi natin na map ilan nga ba yung mga bata na naka-enroll sa mga private centers. So, this is very important na mamap po natin siya. Okay? Next, once registered, they need to secure permit to operate. Pero sino po ang magsisecure ng permit to operate? Those lang po na nasa private. Again, yung mga private centers or learning centers offering programs for 0 to 4, kailangan nilang mag-secure ng permit to operate. Saan po sila magsisecure ng permit to operate? So, the private CDC-LC applies permit to operate with required documents where sa office po ng mayor through the City Municipal Social Welfare Development Office. So, once nakapag-file na sila ng permit to operate, isasubmit po ito sa mayor for inspection. And then, pag nakapag-comply sila, magbibigay po ng certificate to operate for 3 years. Sino mag-i-issue? The local government unit will issue a permit to operate once compliant po yung ang ating private center. But for those na who will fail to comply, temporary permit to operate lang for 1 year. And then the CDC or the LC must comply with the lacking requirements po within that period of 1 year. Kung hindi sila makapag-comply, so back to square one again. Okay. So, yeah. Now, after that, 3 years after, for private po 3 years after, pwede na silang ask for recognition, yung process for recognition. The term recognition, ito po yung ginagamit natin doon sa process before ng accreditation. Just to provide you with a brief background bakit po recognition ay ginagamit natin. During the time na pinaprocess po ito, it was presented to the Secretary of the Department of Education, which is the chair back then, so si Secretary Armin Luistro. According to him, it's not proper to use the term accreditation kasi in the academe or other institution, once you're accredited, you receive incentives. But in our process of accreditation, wala tayong binibigay na incentive. That's why sabi niya, it's safe to say or to use the term recognition. Kaya nung maipasa po ito, hindi ginamit yung term na accreditation, but rather we use the recognition. Okay? And sana malinaw po yun to all of us. Now, here's the process of recognition. Sige, tingnan natin. The CDC-LC recognition process, first, letter of intent for recognition by the mayor addressed to the ECCD Council through the DSWD Regional Office or the Field Office 3 years after permit to operate. So let me clarify that. Sabi, 3 years after permit to operate. So again, this is for private learning centers or child development centers lang. But for the public, if you're ready or nag-expire na or nag-lapse na yung effectivity nung accreditation before or the recognition, if you use the recognition, pag nag-lapse na yung validity niyan, pwede na po siyang i-file again for recognition. Saan po natin ipapadala? Again, it should be through the field offices. Kung nasaan yung inyong local government unit. So for this recognition, we have 2 processes. So first is the internal assessment for 3 months. So internal assessment, basically ang ibig sabihin po nito is yung preparation of your center. Your own center, yung hinahandle mong center. Sino yung composition? For public internal assessment team, you have the child development teacher or the child development worker na nag-handle mismo nung center. And then the barangay captain, the barangay nutrition scholar, the barangay health worker, and then the president of Parent Teachers Workers Association. Bakit ito yung composition ng public internal assessment? Kasi nga po, pine-prepare nila yung center para sa evaluation. So dito, andyan yung involvement ng barangay kasi pag tinignan nila dun sa leadership and management, in terms of planning, in terms of budgeting, ang makakapagsabi niyan is the barangay. And then yung health and nutrition din, ang makakapagsabi niyan, yung mga barangay health worker, yung barangay nutrition scholar, sila yung makakapagsabi or makapagbibigay ng ibang documents. Kaya pag tinignan ninyo, ito yung sinasabi natin kasi all of them magtutulong-tulong po sila para i-prepare yung center before the evaluation. Same with the private internal assessment team. The difference is, manggagaling din sa loob ng center nila or ng school nila. So the administrator or the director or the principal and then the child development teacher, then the member of the board and the president of Parent-Teacher Workers Association. So once na mag-comply sila, assess sila, this is like a self-assessment. Once they comply, pwede na silang magdiretso to external assessment. They'll just inform the field office of the DSWD that they're ready for external assessment. But for those who will not comply or may mga lacking documents, bibigyan sila ng 6 to 12 months or depende before the before the year ends. So, para i-comply yung mga deficiencies nila with documents, practices, and kung ano man yung hinihingi na indicator. So, ito po yun. The mayor informs that they are ready for external assessment. And the external assessment for 3 days. Ang team po dito, we have the deputized regional, provincial, social welfare and development officers as head of the team. Sino ang magde-deputize sa kanila? So, may mga trainings tayo na pinoprovide for external evaluators. So, may mga trainings na initiated by the DSWD. So, there are external evaluators that tinrain nila. Meron din mga external evaluators na tinrain din ng ECCD Council. Pero ito po, iisa lang yung nag-i-issue ng Certificate of Proficiency. So it is issued by the ECCD Council through the Executive Director. So centralized po yung ating database kung sino yung mga qualified at sino yung mga certified na external evaluators. And take note, once na sinabit po siya sa ECCD Council for conferment, yun yung una-una natin tinitingnan. Yung pirma ng evaluator. Yung bang evaluator na nag-process nito is certified by the ECCD Council. Kasi kung hindi po certified, hindi natin itutuloy yung process of reviewing and conferment of their recognition. Okay? So, malinaw po dapat yon. And sino yung iba pang mga creditors, the members or the evaluators, the City Municipal Social Welfare Development Officer, then Administrator, Director, Principal for Private. But we also include, kasi since naintindihan natin na yung mga MSCS and PSWDOs natin, they're very busy kasi this is just one of the many responsibilities na meron sila for the local government unit. Kaya, we also include, we accept yung mga ECCD focal person or other trained or hired po ng local government as part of their evaluators. So, kailangan tayo po, compliant na tayo doon and we will assist you in the process of your recognition or the evaluation of your centers. So you just need to follow the guideline, you coordinate with the field offices of the DSWD wherein your LGU is located. So kailangan talaga na makapag-comply tayo doon. That's why we have this orientation. So the implementation scheme, ito yung ginagawa natin, orientation pareho by ECCD Council, the DSWD, through the provincial, the city, the municipal, and then yung GOCCs and GAs and private. Again, just a review, our process, we have the registration, permit to operate, then granting of recognition. So I hope we are guided with this session on how we're going to prepare our center on the process of evaluating for recognition. As a concluding statement, I'd like to share you another quotation from Villa Foster. It says here, "Quality is never an accident. It is always the result of high intention, sincere effort, intelligent decision, and skillful execution." Thank you very much and have a good day. Good day.
Thank you, Sir Carl, for that informative presentation. So for our next presenter, allow me to introduce Ms. Remelin Malaquilla, our Program Development Officer 3 from the Programs and Policy Unit of the ECCD Council. She will explain to us the competency standards for child development teachers and child development workers.
Good day to everyone. This will be the last topic for these sessions. And to continue the discussions, I Miss Remelin M. Manakilya, Program Development Officer in the Program and Policy Unit of the ECCD Council. We will talk about the competency standards for child development teachers and child development workers. This document is developed by the ECCD Council in partnership with UNICEF. Their competence and other service provider will be helpful in ensuring quality programs and services for our very young children. Service providers will include child development teachers, child development workers, volunteers, teacher aides, and other individuals who are involved in the delivery of quality ECCD programs and services in terms of health, nutrition, early education, and social services. The rationale behind the competency standards for child development teachers and child development workers is the need for competent teachers who can deliver quality early childhood care and development. Access to early childhood care and development means assurance of quality service delivery. And lastly, this can only happen if all early educators, including parents and caregivers, will possess the basic requirements and perform the standards and competences expected of them. Our goal for the competency standards is to ensure that all child development teachers and child development workers and other service providers have developed and demonstrated the necessary knowledge, skills, and attitudes to meet children's developmental needs and deliver high-quality early childhood programs for all children from birth to 4 years old. Quality ECCD programs depends greatly on the quality of the interactions between the child and the teacher. Here you can see the framework of competency standards with its mission and vision. For holistic approach, this covers 7 domains such as child growth, development and learning, health, nutrition, safety and well-being, curriculum, learning environment and experiences, assessment and reporting, family involvement and community linkages, na ito po ang pinakamahalaga na isinasama natin ang ating pamilya tulad ng mga magulang at komunidad para sa pag-unlad ng ating mga bata. And we also include the personal and professional development of our service providers. When you talk about standards, this describes the knowledge, skills, values that characterize good teaching practice or effective teaching. Competencies focus on what educators need to know and be able to do to demonstrate that they are well-rounded and well-prepared to educate and care for young children. All in all, in these 7 domains, we have 10 standards and 75 competencies. At ito na rin po ang ginamit nating basis on the self-assessment tool on teaching competencies for child development teachers and child development workers. Ang mahalaga po sa self-assessment tool na ito ay nakasulat po siya into task para po malaman ng ating mga teachers at ating mga workers kung ano ang kanilang nalalaman o kung ano ang dapat nilang gawin sa pagpapaunlad at pagpapalago ng ating mga bata. Kasama po nito ay nagkakaroon sila ng opportunity to evaluate and chart their progress. This serves as a functional basis and planning and implementations of appropriate technical assistance to be given to them. Meaning, ito rin po ang inyong magiging basihan sa pagre-request ng kanilang mga trainings. With this, we can easily determine whether they are beginner, performer, or skilled. So meaning, beginner, they have started to do the task but needs assistance. Performer, they can do the task well. So ito po yung gusto natin, yung skilled. They are confident to do the task and can assist others as well. So we have the same domains in the self-assessment tool and the competency standards. Here's a sample of the self-assessment tool. As mentioned, the result of the self-assessment tool will serve as the basis for the provision of technical assistance. And I would like also to emphasize that the result is not intended to use for promotion. For the technical assistance, this is anchored on the belief that each organization is responsible for its own growth and development. It is aligned with the organization's vision, mission, and organization's needs. It is an ongoing, systematic, and interactive process that is designed to achieve results. The goal for the technical assistance is to help solve problems. So basically, dito natin makikita or mas madali nating ma-identify ngayon kung anong trainings ang pwede nating ibigay sa ating mga teachers at ating mga workers. So dito din, makikita natin kung nag-level up ba sila from beginner to performer and to skilled. And dito, makakakuha tayo ng magandang resulta at pwede rin itong maging basihan sa paggawa ng ating mga pulisiya. For the training frameworks, we have 3 tiers. Tier 1, this is the local government-initiated training in the city, municipal, or provincial base, like conferences, workshops, inductions, and orientations. This may also include other service providers working or supporting CDTs and CDWs. For Tier 2, this is institutions-based. One of the sample is the ECCD Council initiated training on early childhood education program. This is customized training for CDTs and CDWs that credit 18 units under Master of Arts in Early Childhood Education in partnership with state universities. For Tier 3, this is one-on-one training like mentoring or coachings and advising. For your guidance, here is the technical assistance mechanism flow, starting from needs assessment to planning and implementation. For easier planning, we prepared technical assistance plan template for you. For more information on the competency standards, you can visit our website at www.eccdcouncil.gov.ph. Just click download and resources. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Melin, for enlightening us with your presentation. Okay, so now we can move on to our Q&A. So this is highly anticipated part of the session. Any questions that you might have are welcome now. So you may type in po your questions in the Q&A box for those in Zoom. And for those who are in Facebook Live, just type it in the comment section. We're actually anticipating a lot of questions coming from both Zoom and Facebook. So we will try to cluster all of your questions into themes so that we may be able to respond to all of them. Okay, so may we also invite our presenters, Sir Carl and Ms. Milin, to join our panel for the Q&A. Okay, we're just waiting for the questions to come in. Okay, so we have a first question. I think this goes to Sir Carl. So what is the difference between recognition and permit to operate? Please clarify.
Yes, good afternoon to everyone. The difference between permit to operate is for private schools only, those offering programs for 0 to 4 years old. And this permit to operate, again, shall be processed and secure at the local government unit. At the local government unit wherein your centers are located will be the one who will issue a permit to operate. For the recognition, ito po yung term na ginagamit natin ngayon for accreditation. Kasi it was agreed during the passage of this tool na ang gamitin po ay recognition instead of accreditation. Kasi according to our governing board, pag accreditation dapat may incentive. But hindi naman kasi tayo nagbibigay ng incentive for those accredited centers. That's why they opt to use the term recognition. And now, since sa batas din naman kasi nakalagay na kailangan merong accreditation, kaya we also develop a guideline for accreditation. But for now, ang gagamitin po na natin is recognition. The recognition is the evaluation for quality assurance. So yung tanong din po na ito ba yung new tool? Yes, this is the tool na ginagamit na natin ngayon to evaluate our centers in terms of assuring that we are offering quality programs in our ECCD centers.
So I guess as a follow-up to that answer, no, what will happen to those CDCs accredited in 2022 using the old tool? Is this still valid or will we consider?
Yes, the answer is we will consider yung 2022 accreditation. But our consideration for that is we need to revalidate those centers who are accredited using the AO15 or the old tool will be revalidated in the new tool. Kasi yun po yung natin para hindi masayang yung effort ng both ng centers at ng DSWD field office in conducting the training. Kaya lang hindi po natin pwede na gamitin na kasi yung old tool. First, because of our mandate. Our mandate is to improve, di ba, to upgrade and update our ECCD standards. And that's the reason why we enhanced the old tool and we updated ano na yung mga indicators na appropriate for children and not appropriate anymore in terms of implementing our programs in our child development centers. maganda din na maintindihan natin that our primary purpose for having this updated or enhanced tool for evaluation is masiguro talaga natin na napoprovide natin yung tamang serbisyo, particularly to our 0 to 4 years old. Kasi there are some indicators na we find it na kailangan natin siyang i-enhance, and ganun meron ding mga indicators na kailangan pong idagdag. Okay? So, for consideration, those na na-accredit ng 2022, we will revalidate that, and we will have a meeting with the provincial social welfare development officers to plan on how we're going to expedite and how we're going to process itong pag-revalidate nung mga na-accredit ng 2022. But for those na na-accredit ng 2021 using the AO15, we will still consider that until mag-lapse yung validity ng result nung sa 2021. But for 2022, hindi na natin i-accept. But for consideration, we will revalidate.
Okay, thank you for clearing that up. The next question is coming from a private center. So regarding daw po sa recognition, pwede po ba hindi magpa-recognize ang mga private centers? Ano po ba mangyayari sa kanila? And in connection to that, we have members who want to know if they need to undergo recognition process even if they already have a DepEd permit and recognition.
Okay, I'd like to answer first yung nahuling question regarding if recognized na sila ng DepEd. The recognition of the DepEd was repealed when the law RA 10/10 was passed. Kasi before, hindi po included yung mga private schools doon sa responsibility na ibinigay sa local government unit. So yung mga private schools, doon sila nagsisecure ng kanilang permit sa Department of Education. But now that we have RA 10/10, malinaw po na sinabi doon na ini-include ang private learning centers and schools. So wala na pong validity yung government-issued recognition that includes preschool. Kaya you need to secure permit to operate. And let me clarify that yung recognition ni DepEd is same with the permit to operate that we have right now na dapat i-secure naman sa local government unit. Magkaiba po ang ibig sabihin ng recognition, magkaiba yung operational definition ng recognition na ini-issue ng Department of Education to the recognition that we are using as a quality assurance tool to ensure our program delivery. Okay? So let's not be confused. Magkaiba po yung sa DepEd at yung sa ECCD Council. And the second question is about kailangan ba ng private school magpa-recognize? The recognition is voluntary. Okay? Voluntary po ang pagpapa-recognize ng center. But take note for the local government unit, this is part of the performance of the LGUs. Kasi in the indicator under development sa child-friendly local governance audit in the revised handbook, both public and private na po yung kinukuha natin na percentage of recognized centers. Okay? So we highly encourage that the private schools be recognized also. So it's up to the local government unit kung paano natin ito i-deliver sa ating mga private schools. Kasi, well, this is also part of their marketing strategy. Dahil if the local government, if the private schools will not seek for recognition, so ibig sabihin lang na hindi siya nakaakma doon sa quality standards of the ECCD in the Philippines. Take note, the standards that we have in our ECCD standards and guidelines is an international standard. Kaya po pag tinignan ninyo, madaming nabago with the indicators. Okay? And ganun din, syempre, if I'm a parent, doon ko i-enroll ang anak ko sa sigurado ko na mataas at maganda yung standards na ini-implement.
Okay, thank you, Sir Carl. Um, there's a question here. Actually, it's actually a concern. We have sent intent letters for the recognition sa regional office po. Pero sabi nila, ECCD Council na idiretso, i-address ang intent letter. So we need clarification lang po sana regarding this. If sa council po namin i-address ang intent letter. So if sa council nga, can we ask for the email address?
Thank you very much, Ms. Dolly. Clarification, since it's a council, the DSWD is part of the ECCD Council. And just last week, I think, or 2 weeks ago, we had a meeting with the Undersecretary of DSWD together with the Assistant Secretary, Bureau Director of the Standards Bureau, and the Assistant Bureau Director together with other staffs. So it's our agreement na we will follow the law. And in the law, it created a council, and the council passed, ipinasa po itong standards and guidelines through a board resolution. That's why the agreement is susundin po kung ano ang nakalagay sa ating guidelines. At sa guideline po natin nakalagay doon na ang pag-organize at pag-coordinate ng request for recognition ay dapat dadaan sa field offices ng DSWD. Kasi pag tinignan po sa guideline, it should be addressed to the ECC Council through the DSWD field office. And part of their responsibility in the process is to organize, to deputize external evaluators, to inform the centers, the locality of the result of the evaluation. So malaki po ang part pa rin ng DSWD field offices in terms of processing and coordinating our recognition.
Okay, so there's a suggestion here. Dapat magkaroon daw ng orientation ng mga local officials and barangay officials regarding the accreditation or registration para maging aware din sila sa mga needs ng CDWs.
Actually, that is a good suggestion po. We will take note of that. Maganda talaga. I think we will recommend that to our executive committee na magkaroon din tayo ng national orientation for the local chief executive. Siguro from the governor, mayors, and barangay chairs and other local officials. Sige po, we will do that. Pero kailangan namin yung tulong ng mga nandito ngayon who are present right now to convince our local chief executives that they need also to be part of that national orientation. We'll take note of that. Thank you very much. Si Ms. Milin ang gagawa po uli ng program for that.
Okay, that's for you, Miss Melin. Okay, kasi meron din nagtanong, kailan ba daw ang training, do you offer trainings for child development teachers? Of course we do, but the scheduling, Sir Carl?
Yeah, I agree, Miss Jolly, na yung schedule lang po, you can send us your request letter, but hindi lang namin maipapromise na yung schedule na i-request nyo is masusunod because of the bulk of training requests na dumarating po sa office, and madami na talaga na nire-reschedule namin. Actually, the reason for this national orientation is sa dami din ng request ngayon na pumapasok sa office for orientation on the standards and guidelines. That's why that's the agreement here in the office na mag-conduct na lang tayo ng national orientation so that even the private schools and other stakeholders will be included. So yun po, just bear with us. You send us your invitation and then we will schedule that based on the availability of our resource person. And we can also co-facilitate with you. Maganda din na nagkakaroon din tayo ng training. We will also capacitate you to become trainers also of the different topics that we have and policies here in the office.
Okay, so in connection to that, may mga nagtatanong, paano po daw maging external evaluators? Ano po daw mga requirements?
Yan, for the external evaluators, hindi naman masyadong mabigat yung requirements natin. First, you should be deputized or endorsed by the DSWD field offices. Kasi since sila nga po yung nagde-deploy, sila yung nag-organize, so it has to be within the jurisdiction of the field offices. And then next, there should be a training. So ang minimum requirement natin for the training is at least 3 days or 24 hours, including the actual assessment of a center using the recognition tool para makapag-ano tayo ng external evaluators. And then dapat po may experience in ECCD. So may understanding sila on how to handle children and handle programs and centers. So we also accept the ECCD focal persons, or to augment, ina-accept din po natin yung mga nag-retire na ng mga child development teachers or child development workers for the assessment. So pwede po itong mga ito, basta ang condition, non-teaching na po. We don't accept teaching personnel or yung mga nag-handle ng center to become part of the external evaluators.
Okay, Sir Carl, no, you mentioned child development teachers and workers. May tanong dito, ano daw po bang difference?
Ayan. So the difference is, well, the child development teachers has the capacity or the qualification of a teacher. So preferably graduate sila ng education and may units sila in teaching. For the child development worker, so any course or undergrad, kasi marami tayong mga undergrad na mga child development workers. Pero child development workers, ito yung qualification nila is, yun nga, hindi sila teaching but they handle the center. Sila yung nagra-run or nagpa-facilitate ng center. But if you will take a look in the indicators, in the standards and guidelines sa area 4 for staff qualification, nakalagay doon is bachelor's degree. Pag child development worker, bachelor's degree. This is the standard. Yun yung gusto natin na sana lahat ng mga child development workers ay bachelor's degree. Kasi we have also a track na gusto natin yung mga child development workers ma-professionalize. Pero it doesn't necessarily mean na pagka hindi college graduate, yung existing na child development worker ay ifa-fire na sila or hindi na sila qualified to become child development workers. It's just that pag in-evaluate sila in this indicator, 0 yung point nila kasi hindi sila graduate. Pero hindi naman siya mababawasan ng husto kasi if you have trainings, if you have the capacity, there are other indicators na makakakuha kayo ng points pagka in-evaluate po kayo. Okay? Kasi ang ano natin, hindi basta-basta ang trabaho ng mga child development workers. Hindi ganun kadali mag-handle ng mga bata. Hindi ganun kadali mag-isip, mag-implement, mag-plan ng mga day-to-day activities, routine ng children. Hindi ganun kadali. And it requires really competency ng teacher to do everything. Kaya ganun din, gusto din natin iangat yung kalidad ng ating mga child development workers.
Yes, thank you, Sir Carl, for that. Ito naman is a concern from private sector who's offering 3 to 4 years old classes, and they're renting a small space. So about around 100 square meters lang po, without outdoor playground. So is there a standard size for an ECCD facility?
Ayan. Pag tiningnan nyo po yung sa ating standards and guidelines, tinanggal natin siya because of this consideration. Hindi lang po private schools yung may concern pag sa maliliit na spaces. Even yung public na mga child development centers, concerned nito lalo na if you're in Manila, ang liliit lang talaga ng mga spaces nila, ng mga centers nila. Pero tinitingnan natin dito is paano natin ipine-prepare yung environment in terms of facilitating learning. Like for example, if you have 50 enrolled children, tapos you have 100 square meters, tapos nandoon pa lahat ng mga furniture and fixtures ng center. So magiging masyado siyang masikip. And you have to understand the nature of the child. Kasi ang mga bata, mataas pa yung energy nila. And we need to, alam niyo yung process this energy na meron sila. We need to translate it into their development and learning. Kaya, pag nag-plan tayo, ano ba yung mga pwede nating gawin? Diba? Sinasabi, pag tinignan nyo sa ating indicator sa standlight, sinasabi na enough yung space for each of the child. So instead of putting them together in one session, we can break these sessions into smaller number of children. Para kahit maliit yung center mo, may space sila to move. Lalo na that you mentioned na wala kayong outdoor play facility. Kasi the purpose of outdoor play facility is to provide children opportunity for active play. Kung saan sila pwedeng tumalon, pwedeng tumakbo, pwedeng mag-explore. So, kung wala ka talagang outdoor facility, pwede mong i-convert yung loob ng center mo pag may active play activity kayo. Kasi dapat active play is everyday. Kailangan talaga ng bata na, alam mo yun, yung active yung kanilang paglalaro. So, inside the center, pwede mo siyang baguhin yung spacing mo na pwede nilang magawa yung active play. So we're not particular on the size kasi we understand na marami talaga, lalo na yung mga private schools, lalo na yung mga nasa condo, ang liliit talaga ng mga spaces. So you need to be strategic kasi pag tiningnan mo, again, yung indicators natin sa standards and guidelines, hindi nila tinitingnan o hindi natin tinitingnan kung gaano ba yung measurement per child. Although I think in the international standards, it's 1.5 by 1.5 per child or 1 meter by 1 meter per child.
Okay, so there's one concern here. Sabi, what if mag-prepare kami for recognition, tapos pag election, pinalitan na kami. Sayang po naman yung pagod at hirap namin.
Actually, well, syempre alam naman natin na ang boss natin ay kung sino yung nagpapasweldo sa atin. Now, in the local government, it's our barangay, particularly sa mga child development workers, it's our barangay chair. So, this is really a big anong tawag dito, issue pagdating sa mga child development workers and teachers na during election, massive talaga. May mga ibang mga LGUs pa, lahat ng child development workers tinanggal. Okay? Ito, hindi natin siya masasagot kasi wala pa tayong batas dito. But what's good about this is, I don't know if you watch the news yesterday, I think that's yesterday or the last day, regarding the Magna Carta for child development workers. So we had a committee hearing with Senator Amy Marcos regarding this kasi they want to push talaga doon sa Magna Carta kasi sabi ni Senator Amy, napakatagal na nito, nakakaawa na yung ating mga child development workers. They're really doing a very good job in taking care of our children, in providing opportunity for their development. Pero hindi natin nako-consider yung effort na ito. That's why she's really pushing for the Magna Carta and all agencies were there and we agreed na talagang maipush ito. Kasi ito yung magpo-provide sa atin ng security of tenure na kahit magpalit-palit yung ating mga barangay chair, hindi matatanggal yung mga child development workers. Okay, so yung ano natin, kasi sa ngayon hindi talaga natin masasabi dahil syempre naman yung mga barangay chair, pag sinabi nila na okay, palit ka, so palit ka, wala pa tayong magagawa dahil lalo na ang madami sa mga child development workers is honoraria. Honoraria lang yung tinatanggap. Pero there are some local government units na lalo na pagka ang mayor ay priority niya ang programs for children. May mga local government unit na gumagawa sila ng ordinances para sa mga child development workers na kapag nagpalit ang chairman ng isang barangay, hindi sila papalitan. And it worked. Maraming LGUs na nasisecure, kaya happy yung life ng mga child development workers. And I hope na habang hinihintay natin yung pagpasa ng Magna Carta, may mga mayors tayo, mga local chief executives na who will do the same para to protect the welfare of our child development workers, kasi ang laki ng contribution ninyo in building our nation. Actually, ito yung medyo nakakalungkot na sitwasyon kasi kayo yung mga unsung heroes, our child development workers. Sobrang hirap ng trabaho nyo pero kayo yung hindi masyadong napapansin in terms of education. Kasi feeling parang hindi masyadong significant. Pero right now, kitang-kita na natin yung significance ng contribution ng mga child development workers and child development teachers in the development of our human capital. So, we will push through with that and tulong-tulong po tayo na kumbinsihin yung mga mambabatas natin na talagang mapasa ito. And I'm not campaigning for Senator Marcos po. Pero madami po, actually madaming version, maraming mga representatives, congressmen, congresswoman, senators, ang may mga iba-ibang version ng bill. Okay, there's a bill version from Senator Gatchalian, meron kay Senator Binay, meron kay Senator Ontiveros. Madaming bill. Pero ang committee chair po kasi ngayon is si Senator Amy Marcos. So let's support this bill para po talagang magdire-diretso. Okay?
Yes, Sir Carl, no, everyone's hoping and praying talaga na ma-push natin itong Magna Carta. So, kapit lang tayo at maaabot na rin natin yan soon, no? Okay, so there's another question here. Hold on. I think this question goes to Ma'am Milin. Kasi sabi sa topic ni Miss Milin na kailangan may 18 units Paano po pag ang worker high school graduate lang at matagal na nagseserbisyo as worker po? Qualified pa ba sila?
Good afternoon to our participants. I think you are referring to our initiated program, no, yung early childhood education program. Ang aming nagiging participants dito is our child development teachers and workers kasi para mas ma-upgrade din po natin ang kanilang capacity. And i-add ko lang po kasi may nagtatanong kung ano daw po yung technical assistance. So nakita ko lang dito. So yung technical assistance po natin dito kasi we develop a competency standard for child development and teachers. So dito po papasok ngayon ang technical assistance wherein gagamitin po natin yung self-assessment tool, no? This self-assessment tool is intended for our child development and teachers, no? Pwede pong i-assess natin ang ating mga sarili kung ano na po ang ating capacity. And then yung overall result po ng ating evaluations is doon po natin ma-determine kung anong capacity building or technical assistance nangangailangan po ang ating mga teachers. Okay po. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Milin. Sir Carl, would you like to add more to that?
And sorry. Idagdag ko lang po yung sinabi ni Ms. Milin regarding sa question sa 18 units. Actually, yung 18 units po, kinikredit natin yon pagka hindi graduate ang participant, like example, first year college or high school graduate, kinikredit po siya sa undergrad units. 18 units po yun sa education, major in early childhood education. Pag graduate naman po, 12 units yung kinikredit natin sa master's degree, MAED po, master's in education, major in early childhood education din po. Yun yung crediting natin Pero ito ay, as mentioned ni Ms. Melin, this is initiated by the ECCD Council. So selected po ito yung nagiging participants natin dito. Siniselect po ng mga local government kung sino yung ipadadala nila. So nagbibigay po tayo ng 10 per local government unit for this one. Yung sinabi ni Ms. Melin is just a sample na na-mention in the presentation po.
Okay, thank you, Sir Carl and Ms. Milin. There's a question here. Magkano daw po ba ang processing fee? At saan po daw babayaran? Processing fee po. I think this is for recognition, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, for the recognition po, the processing fee is 500 pesos po. And doon po natin yun secure sa City and Municipal Social Welfare Development Office po.
Let me clarify, is this for private?
Yes, this is only for the private school. Thank you.
All right, thank you for that clarification. Another question here. Is there a standard class size po or ratio of teacher to the number of pupils? Sir Carl, there's a question here. Is there a standard class size po or ratio of teacher, number of pupils?
Yes po, there is a ratio of 1:20 per class. So one child development worker or child development teacher for 20 students. Nasa indicator po natin yan sa curriculum.
Okay, I saw here a comment. Sana daw po may online class for ECCD courses.
Actually, meron tayong mga trainings and capacity building na kinakonduct natin through online. So by invitation din po ito. Yes, we're targeting na lahat din ng mga LGUs, mabigyan natin ng mga ganitong trainings. But because of the limited forces na meron tayo dito sa ECCD Council, particularly in the national office, inuunti-unti po natin. But yun, our target is we will provide technical assistance in terms of capacity building, in terms of training our service providers.
Okay, thank you, Sir Carl. May mga concerns dito na paano daw po kung college grad pero hindi education, or kikredit po ba kapag hindi ECE major grad para makapagturo sa CDCs?
Yes, pwede po. Kasi pag tiningnan nyo nga again, maganda po na mabasa ninyo yung ating standards and guidelines. So if you're a child development worker, not necessarily you're a graduate of education course. Ang importante is may training po tayo on how to handle children. May mga trainings tayo, may mga capacity building tayo on understanding yung ating process of providing services for our children, particularly yung 0 to 4. So hindi natin nililimit yung pool of our child development workers dun lang sa mga educators. Kasi madami tayong mga child development workers na mga nurses, may iba nga engineer, but they have the passion for teaching and handling children. So we all consider those. Kaya kailangan natin silang i-capacitate. Kaya nagpo-provide din tayo ng training. So the local government should really plan this para sa kanilang mga child development workers, kung paano nila i-capacitate yung mga child development workers nila to become a child development worker.
Okay, Sir Carl, in connection to the fees kanina, no? Sabi, the collection of fees must be supported with an ordinance, di ba po?
Yes, exactly. Kasi hindi talaga pwede mag-collect ng fees ang local government without an ordinance. Kasi ganun din, kailangan mailagay din dun sa ordinance kung ano yung purpose ng pag-collect ng fee. Para pagka ni-request ito nung mag-utilize, is meron silang basis. Well, basically the purpose of that is for the processing and administration of evaluation. And it's only 500. I think kulang pa talaga yung 500 na yon, but based on our consultation with the local government, ito yung inagree nila kasi inalign ito doon sa binibigay ng DSWD before na subsidy na 500 for the external evaluators. Pero again, let me clarify that 500 po na processing fee is for private schools only. Ang public na mga child development centers natin, hindi kailangang magbayad ng 500. Dapat itong processing fee ng mga LGUs ay nakalagay sa kanilang budget.
Okay, I hope that's clear. Okay, next question. I think this is for Ms. Milin. Sabi daw po dito, how long po after masubmit sa ECCD Council ma-release ang Certificate of Conferment?
Wait. Ayan, good afternoon again. Anyway, depende po kasi no sa number of centers no na re-evaluate namin. Sometimes we receive 18 documents, 80 centers po. So siguro maximum kasi na i-release na namin in 1 week na i-release na namin. Sometimes din pag medyo hindi madami kaming hindi kakasabay-sabay activity. So mga 3 days na i-release na namin ang Certificate of Recognitions. So depende din po kasi, di ba usually dinadaan po natin sa field offices. So depende rin po yon kung kailan po na i-transfer sa amin. Yun po. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Milin. There's a question here. Ang NCDC po ba ay required mag-undergo din ng evaluation for recognition?
Of course, hindi po exempted ang NCDC. And let me clarify this. Wala pong pagkakaiba ang NCDC at CDC. Lahat po ito ay kailangan dumaan sa quality assurance. Kasi hindi porkit trained na ang CDT ay inevitable na sila. Actually, when we conducted our pilot implementation, lumabas po na mas maayos pa yung handling ng isang child development worker compared to one of the child development teacher. Okay? Pero syempre, we're parang mas mataas yung expectation natin sa mga NCDCs kasi unang-una karamihan na nag-handle ng mga NCDCs ay mga child development teachers trained by the ECCD Council, enrolled in teacher education institutions. So mataas yung hopes natin na maganda ang implementation. But hindi ibig sabihin no na inevitable sila. Kasi meron talaga na hindi nagiging tama yung pag-manage nila. And may mga child development workers handling child development centers na mas maganda ang performance. So pare-pareho lang po tayo. The NCDC is not exempted. You will also be evaluated same as with the other child development centers from public and private. So hindi ko po alam, actually matagal ng concern yan. Hindi ko alam kung saan nanggaling yung mga pag-iisip po ng ating mga ibang CDTs na hindi sila dapat ina-assess dahil sa national government sila. No, the NCDC is not the national government. NCDC, kaya tinawag natin, kasi nanggaling siya sa initiative ng national government. Ang purpose niyan is to become a model center, a research center wherein ito yung magiging basis natin of the implementation. Dito natin gagayahin, dito natin i-replicate. Pero yan po ay pag-aari ng local government unit. Sa local government unit po ang NCDC. At ang boss po ng mga child development teacher ay yung nagpapasweldo sa kanila, which is their local chief executives. Okay po, so dapat malinaw yan. Kaya hindi kakaiba ang CDT sa CDWs. They are all supervised by their social welfare offices through the social welfare officers. Okay po?
Thank you, Sir Carl. The next question is coming from an MSWDO. What if there's an SB resolution prohibiting the barangay captains in terminating the CDTs during or after election? Is this possible po ba?
Yes po, na-mention ko ito. Actually, yun nga, in one of our trainings, I know you're familiar with the training na binibigay ng ECCD Council, yung sa Leading and Managing Integrated ECCD program. There is one participant there from a local government unit na sabi niya, hindi namin problem yan kasi our mayor created an ordinance na hindi po matatanggal ang mga child development workers in the barangays. So nagwo-work yun po sa kanila, pero iba-iba din kasi ang dynamics, and it's good to know na ang mga barangay chair ay hindi directly under sa mga mayors. So they have their own policies na ini-implement din in their barangays. So maganda magkaroon ng agreement with the barangay, with the SB and the local chief executives, kasi syempre yung SB resolution, madali siyang mabago pag nagbago-bago din yung leadership, unlike an ordinance. So tingnan natin, pero if it will work in your locality, it's good.
Okay, so thank you for that, Sir Carl. This is naman regarding our trainings and seminars, but this concern is from private sectors. Kasali po daw ba sila sa mga trainings and seminars na ibinibigay natin? And how do we access those trainings po, if ever?
Yes, nagkakaroon naman tayo ng mga initiated na trainings and seminars sa mga private. Pero iba kasi ang private schools kasi iba din yung kanilang ginagamit na curriculum. And the ECCD Council, we develop our own curriculum, which is the NELC, National Early Learning Curriculum, and meron tayong resource package for this. So if you're referring to that curriculum, we can provide you with technical assistance and training. Siguro we can give you training design if you want. Ganyan, but syempre, dahil nga magkakaiba yung curriculum, so hindi namin alam if that is your need. Marami din naman mga private schools na nag-invite lang sila ng advisors person from us. And ang ginagawa din namin as much as possible, para kasi dahil nga dun sa scheduling, mas mahirap i-approve pagka isang center lang yung magre-request. Maganda dinadaan siya sa mga associations para isang malaking training lang tayo para ma-provide. Siguro if you have an association ng mga schools offering programs for 0 to 4, like here in Manila, madaming ganyan. So you can organize and you can request training from us if ang training na ano nyo is the curriculum that we have. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, Sir Carl. As I'm reading through the questions, no, nakita ko lang to, sabi, may nakalagay sa evaluation tool na ang CDT ay salary grade 11. May QS na po ba dito sa civil service? Kasi sa CDW sa civil service, salary grade 6 lang po.
Yes, maganda po na na-mention na it's for CDT, it's for child development teachers. Kasi when we initiated the NCDC, before that wala pa naman talagang child development teacher. Ang meron pa lang ay child development worker. So yung sa child development teacher, ang ginawa natin when we provided salary for them, before, ngayon wala na po tayong budget for that. Salary grade 11 yung binibigay natin. Kasi dahil yung qualification nila is for a teacher, yung professional qualification nila, isinabay natin doon sa DepEd na salary grade 11 ang teacher 1. And ito din yung sinasama natin, isinusulong natin sa batas na magkaroon ng item for child development teacher para maibigay yung salary grade 11. Pero ito yung preferred natin. Even the MOA with the local government unit, pag nagkakaroon tayo ng partnership for NCDC, ito nilalagay natin sa MOA na at least salary grade 11 yung ibibigay dun sa mga child development teachers. So this is for child development teacher. Yung minention nyo po, tama kayo, that's a child development worker. We have salary grade 6 and salary grade 8 para sa child development worker 2. Ito yung dating item na daycare worker 1 and daycare worker 2 na pareho din na salary grade 6 and salary grade 8. So magkaiba po ang worker at ang teacher.
Okay, thank you for that, Sir Carl. This is in relation to the previous question regarding the assessment of NCDCs, no? Sino daw po ang internal assessment team sa NCDC?
Ayan, based on the presentation, na mention ko na din naman po ito, na the internal assessment team is the one handling the center. Kasi the internal assessment is actually a preparation of your centers for the external evaluation. Okay? So yung team nakalagay naman po doon na may child development teacher, child development worker, whoever is nag-handle ng center, with the barangay captain, the barangay nutrition scholar, barangay health worker, the president of the Parent Teachers Association. Kaya po yun yung composition nun kasi sila yung magpe-prepare ng sarili nilang center. Yun yung tinatawag na internal assessment. Kaya tawag na internal, you're assessing your own center. This is in preparation. You're preparing your documents, you're preparing your center, you're preparing your practice for observation and everything. And then once na ma-prepare siya, saka lang po magkakaroon ng outside of evaluation, which is ito yung external evaluation, which will be facilitated by an external evaluator.
Okay, so there's one question here from Malaybalay, Bukidnon. How about the SNP? Are they exempted for evaluation?
Yes, kasi hindi po siya center-based. Ang ini-evaluate natin ay center-based. SNP is a supervised neighborhood play.
Okay, so thank you for that clarification. Next question, what will happen if hindi or ayaw mag-secure ng permit to operate from LGU ang isang private service provider?
Well, basically po, if ayaw po mag-secure ng permit to operate ang isang private school, definitely hindi po siya pwedeng mag-operate ng kanyang school. Hindi rin po pwedeng mag-accept ng enrollees. Kasi nga po, parang lalabas po siya, kolorum siya kasi hindi siya nagpa-follow sa guidelines or sa ating yung guidelines po ng local government unit na matagal na po ito and which is approved naman po ito sa ating guidelines.
Thank you, Ms. Milian. There's next question, well, not a question, but a concern. Sabi, this is from the CDWs. Sana po mapaintindi po sa amin yung tungkol sa mga areas, standards, guidelines, indicators, as well as the evidences na kailangan i-gather kung anong mga form po or documents na kailangan namin to comply. Dahil yung iba po sa amin naghahanap po kung ano yung itsura ng mga forms na ito.
So maybe one of our teacher to Miss Jolly, no? Siguro before po i-conduct ng mag-conduct ng external assessment, no? You can prepare na po ng mga documents. Nandun naman po ito sa ating standards and guidelines, yung granting of permit and recognition. Nandun po lahat naka-specify po kung anong indicator po. Doon mas makakapag-prepare po kayo. Punta lang po kayo sa aming website para ma-download nyo po ang aming manual. Visit nyo ang website www.eccdcouncil.gov.ph and then hanapin nyo po yung may nakalagay po doon download and then the resources. Naka-itemize po doon kung anong area po like for granting of permit and recognition. So pag browse nyo po yung documents, nandun po lahat, pati po kung anong ayos ng certificate of recognition natin, lahat ng mga nandun po siya. So try to have time po to browse it po before or minsan nagbibigay na po kami sa mga CS and MS ng copy of this manual. Pwede po kayo sigurong mag-approach sa ating MS and CS na pwede nyo pong i-Xerox and meron po kayo sa center nyo. Para, yun nga po, prepared po kayo bago mag-conduct ng assessment to your center.
Thank you, Ms. Milin. Yes, you just visit our website. It's all there. You can download all the forms. Okay, so next question. If ever po ang isang CDW ay nasa NCDC na assign, ang LGU na po ba ang magbibigay ng honorarium or sa barangay po?
Depende din po sa agreement. It could be from the mayor. Kasi in our MOA, dapat manggaling siya sa municipality or sa city. Pero kasi once na turnover yan, pwedeng magkaroon na po ng agreement kasi pag na-turnover na po yung NCDC, it's between the agreement. Nasabi ko nga po na pag-aari na po yan ng local government unit. Meron tayong mga centers na ang salary ng child development teacher nang gagaling sa municipality, meron naman ang gagaling sa barangay. It's not really an issue if halimbawa natanggal yung CDT sa NCDC at ang pinalit ay CDW. So it's not an issue kung CDW yung naghahawak ng NCDC. Okay? So pwede pa rin siyang pasweldohin ng mayor or pwedeng i-continue nung barangay kung nasaan yung NCDC. So depende po sa magiging decision ng local government unit.
Okay, there's one comment here that I think dapat ma-mention natin, no? Sabi ng isa, her name is Catherine Palomares ba to? Dito po sa aming municipality, we have 6 CDTs with SG11. Napakaswerte naman po. Pwede po namin malaman kung anong municipality ninyo. Sana lahat, no? So there's another, so the next question here, with regards daw po to the payment of 500 of permit to operate, any guidelines or memo from ECCD Council as basis po namin to lobby or request for our municipal ordinance?
Since the standards and guideline is approved by the ECCD Council Governing Board, that will serve as our basis in creating our local ordinances. So yun po ang magiging basis natin for that. You just check on the standards and guidelines as mentioned by Ms. Milin. You can download that in our ECCD Council website.
Okay, so I'm pulling questions here about the SNP, no? Kailan daw po ba matatawag na ang facility is still an SNP? And sino daw po ba ang mag-a-assess ng mga SNP worker natin, Sir Carl?
I think the SNP, it's another modality, an alternative modality. Right now, wala pa tayong standards and guidelines regarding our other or alternative. Meron pa lang tayo ngayon is the center-based, and also we're developing na yung ating home-based standards and guidelines. SNP is not a home-based program. Okay? So, yun yung kailangan natin na magkaroon pa din ng standards so that we will have a process. Kasi ito yung dapat nating maayos ngayon. Yung mga ginagawa nating programs, it should be implemented properly and should be understood again properly din. Itong differences, itong mga alternative modality na to in delivering our ECCD program. So yun pa lang po yung meron tayo ngayon, the home-based and the center-based. Pero nakalagay din po itong mga alternative modalities po.
Okay, Sir Carl, we have a lot of questions in line, but we're sorry we cannot accommodate all of them. No, so maybe Sir Carl, how many more questions before?
And siguro po we'll entertain siguro last 2 questions, but lahat ng mga questions dito we will consolidate that. We will create siguro FAQ. yung FAQs na to, ipopost natin din sa ECCD website so that yung mga answers dito, we can filter, we can organize, and we'll try to answer all of them para madali nyong mapuntahan, makita ano yung mga sagot. So, yun, Teacher Jolly.
Okay, yeah. To add to that, no, you can message our help desk. No, it's a very responsive help desk. So rest assured that we will reply as soon as we can. No, so if two more questions, I saw a question here. It's very interesting. Sir, may coworker po ako if nagtatanong if senior citizens can continue. What age po ang requirement? I think is this for CDWs?
Well, syempre, meron din tayong sinusunod na batas pagdating doon sa mga senior citizens. Pero tingnan natin kasi yung capacity din ng ating mga senior citizens. There are some na talagang kaya pa, so okay lang if they continue to teach or handle the center. Pero if not, tingnan natin kasi ang pag-iisipan natin dito, lalo na sa ating mga MSNCS dito and mga barangay officials, minsan kasi ina-hire natin sila out of gratitude kasi ang tagal na ng service nila. Pero nasa-sacrifice naman natin yung quality ng program na binibigay natin for children. Kasi hindi na nakakasabay yung ibang senior citizen doon sa energy ng mga bata. So yun yung pagpipilian natin. And if we want to give them ng trabaho, pwede na natin sila siguro i-assign into other tasks like coordinators or focal, mga ganyan. Pero kasi yun yung pag-ano natin, alam natin na malaki yung naging contribution nito mga child development workers natin. Pero again, balik tayo doon sa purpose ng center natin. It's not just for welfare but also to provide an appropriate experience for our children.
Okay, Sir Carl. I think that would be our last question for today. Anyway, thank you so much for all your questions. Maybe you can post and contact us through our Facebook page, Early Childhood Care and Development Council. Andun po yung help desk namin. Yan. So, also, before we end, we would like to remind everyone to kindly fill up the evaluation form. The link will be posted in our Facebook page. And there, I already said our Facebook name. So, ayan. So, okay. We would like to thank our presenters, our organizers, and of course, all our participants. We appreciate all of you being here, and we hope that you have learned a lot in today's orientation. So once again, thank you for joining us, and we will see you next time. Goodbye, everyone.